Yo, what's going on guys? Patasaur here. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to try to help people progress their account. And this might not necessarily be for G3 players or maybe even like high G2 players. It's more for like maybe like if you're hard start Conqueror or like Conqueror 2, Conqueror 3, it's like C3 or even Guardian. And if you noticed 2 to 3 years ago I was a Conqueror player. You know, I had like little to no monsters. Like I pretty much had nothing. I had no LD5s. I still don't have any like good LD5s. The only LD5 I do have is Light Ryu. But now if you look at my account, it's able to like hit G3 and beat the best of the best players. The other day I beat Diligent. The day before that I beat Second Baby. So yeah, this is the replay with Diligent. Yeah. So how do I get my account to the point where you can go toe to toe with the best of the best, like these SWC winners of their specific groups? They're like the best of the best, right? And there's multiple ways you can do that. You can summon a lot, try to get like LD5s and stuff. You can also improve your towers as well until they're maxed. But today we're gonna look at runes. So I've been on multiple Conqueror accounts, and like I've been on to RTA for them, and I've noticed like a pattern. When I've asked them about like runes or looked at their runes, I've noticed that like they didn't really know what substats to keep and not keep. So in today's video we're gonna go through each slot, and hopefully you guys understand like which substats are good. So the first rune we're going to look at is this, right? So obviously when you look at this, triple speed is always a keep, or like yeah, that's triple speed, almost max. So any triple speed runes you're definitely going to keep no matter what the other substats are. But let's say you have limitations on your account. So let's say you cannot get like multiple reapps, you're on a budget, or your source of runes comes from farming only. If we look at my slot 1 here, right, it initially did not have speed on it. If a rune doesn't have speed on it, you have to make sure like the other 3 stats are like pretty usable. So what to look for slot 1 is I usually go for I look for the 3 Grindables. You can't get defense on this slot, so I'll look for speed, attack, and HP. Right, if there's not one of those stats on there, in this case there was no speed, right, I would gem in that stat, right? So let's say if it was 2 rolls in speed and 2 rolls in HP, but it didn't have attack, then I'll gem the attack in. And the 4th stat, I would either look for crit rate or accuracy. In this case, it's crit rate, right? If you look at this slot 1, it's the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing, but I haven't regemmed the speed yet. So the reason why you regem the speed is it doesn't have any rolls on it, and you could potentially get it higher than it is, right? Where if I were to regem the attack, if I put a purple in there with a max roll, it still would be 11. So you don't get anything out of that, right? So you would gem the one that has no rolls in it. This would be for like some kind of like attacker kind of unit. It could be used for a lot of things in general though. But if let's say if you do have the accuracy instead of the crit, what that does is it gives your account more flexibility. So when you're using something like Summoner's War Optimizer, it lets you create different combinations where you can achieve the stats that you want or you need on that unit. And I know like maybe not a lot of you guys use Optimizer to ruin your accounts, but we can work our way around that in the future. Yeah, and I've noticed like a lot of people do chase speed. Like if they don't roll triple roll speed, they just sell the rune instantly. When if you look at something like this, for example, where is it? If you look at something like this is only a double roll speed, right? 18, and it double rolled into crit. Now this rune here is 1 off max crit and 2 off defense, and I gemmed in the HP. What makes a rune good is also the efficiency. If you get high rolls, it makes a rune super valuable. So now we're going to move on to the slot 2s. And for slot 2s, the main stat is normally speed. So what you want to look for is the main stat to have speed, and you're going to have 3 Grindables. grindable stats just means you can add a grind onto it to improve this to improve the base stat higher than it is, right? So the 3 grindables will be HP, attack, defense, and speed. But since speed is the main already, you have the 4th stat could be either like accuracy or crit. I like to have accuracy or crit. You could have a scenario like this, for instance, where in this scenario, my attack that I gemmed in was probably a flat attack or flat defense. A flat attack is probably worse. So let's say if it was flat attack, I gemmed in attack for it, and I kept the res instead. I kept the res because it was a 8 roll, and res is like 4 to 8. So it was a high roll, so I kept it. If it was a 4 roll, I could debate like, you know, maybe gemming it out and keeping the flat attack and grinding it up instead, because flat attack would be like at least 5%. If you gem in like a plus 30. So in this rune here has 2 max rolls in resistance and 1 roll into HP, and I gemmed in flat HP here over attack because I used this rune on a Lulu, and cause Lulu, like, she has 2 skills that use healing moves, and the first skill doesn't really do much damage. It has like a low multiplier, so it doesn't really hit that hard anyway. So I decided to give it more HP, and because it has 10k or less base HP, the flat HP here becomes more value, because 1100 is pretty much, you're getting 11% HP pretty much from this rune. Okay, this rune here for slot 2, I like to call a damage rune, and you could have the attack percent as the main in place of the speed, and this and vice versa, because you're using it as a damage dealer, right? So basically, if you have like maybe crit rolls, attack rolls, or crit damage rolls, and then the last could be HP, any of these 4 combinations or 5 combinations, including the main stat, could be in any kind of order. Like you could gem in like I wouldn't suggest gemming in crit damage or crit, because it can't be grindable, so you can't get like high rolls onto it. So I would recommend gemming in either attack HP or attack or HP, I would suggest. So this will be a damage kind of rune, and this could be used on like Odin. Yeah, so I kept the rune this way for the purpose of you guys being able to see that even though a rune doesn't look as good like ungrinded, once you grind it up, it will look really good. It could potentially look like something like this, for instance, right? Except like, you know, the defense will be over attack here. Alright, your slot 4s could your slot 4 is a bit like different compared to every other slot, because it does require more of the stats. So for this, in this case, either HP percent, crit damage, or crit rate. I don't recommend defense percentage, because I feel like defense is kind of bad when people defense break you or put bombs on you. So that's why I always like HP percent a lot better, and I'm pretty sure a lot of players like prefer HP percent over defense percent as well. But you know, sometimes you do get the runes where, you know, it just rolls high speed and there's nothing you can do about it on defense, but it's still usable. It's just that, you know, people prefer HP a lot better. So this rune, for example, HP percent, you can use it like on any kind of support character, whether it be like a Fran, Ganymede, Hathor, anyone, right? So here you would have your 3 grindables: speed, defense, attack percent, and the last could be either accuracy, crit, or you can make the argument res, right? You could, like, a res would be on something like a Lulu or like a Harmonia or something, or maybe even Triana, unless you're going for a crit damage Triana. And accuracy would be like on a Ganymede or a Hathor or something, right? And the crit would be some kind of like pseudo damage dealer as well. But yeah, so let's look at the crit damage ones. Like what stats are you looking for crit damage, right? Normally you want your 4 grindables, because the main isn't HP percent anymore, so you want your 4 grindables, and you want your innate stat to be either crit or accuracy. So that's how you can really make use of that efficiency, right? If you can't get crit or accuracy on your innate, it's fine to just have the 4 grindables, and try to get all your crit or accuracy from your slot 2. So that's what the better players do. They try to get like as high as possible crit on their slot 2, or they try to get as high as possible accuracy on their slot 2 to make up for the fact that where is that? Yeah, to make up for the fact that they don't have the accuracy innate or any accuracy or crit stats on the slot 4, right? Yeah, the reason why you have crit damage on in the first place is to double the damage at low cost, because having a crit damage rune on your unit, like an 80% crit damage, just exceeds the damage by so much without having to roll it. So let's say if you do have rolls in the crit damage, it would take a lot for you to get 80% out of like these like 4 runes. Like these 4 runes alone isn't even 80%. So like the fact that 80% crit damage just gives you like so much from one rune, that's why people use the CD. But I normally keep it at 130. If it's like a really heavy damage unit, then you might need more. Like let's say if you were using a fat Lucian on rage, then obviously you want to go as high as possible. So your slot 5s, again, crit or accuracy innate, and then you'll have your 4 grindables. It's very imperative to have your 4 grindables, because this makes the rune insanely more efficient if you do have your 4 grindables in the substats. But if you can't get that, if it ends up being like something like this where you have that crit there and no defense, then that's fine too, right? Let's say this Josephine rune, for example, that I showed earlier. Same thing, right? If you can't have the crit or accuracy innate, it could be 3 grindables and the crit or accuracy, or it could just be the 4 grindables, like this rune, for example. It could just be the 4 grindables here. Obviously, like if you're using a damage dealer rune, it would look like something like this. Instead, it could have speed over the crit damage, but since Leo doesn't use speed, then I opted the crit damage instead here. But let's say for this, so instead of the crit damage, I would have the speed here. Yeah, because for me, I don't like to go overkill on the crit damage. Like 130 is fine for me. Okay, your slot 6, it could be any one of the, like I like to have like either attack percent or HP percent or accuracy percent. Either one of those 3 are really, really good. And then you would look for your 3 grindables. It's a bit harder than any other slot to understand. But you would have your 3 grindables, and then you can have, actually you would have in this case you would have your 4 grindables. So let's say for instance I wasn't able to get attack percent on this, but it would be in there instead of the 6 crit, right? So if it was accuracy main, then your 4 grindables would go in. Let's say if it was attack, percent, then you will have your speed, HP, defense, and your last could be accuracy or crit, or you could have like a damage kind of rune like this one, where this could be used on like a Odin or like a Covenant, which I have on right now. Any kind of like damage dealer, right? So yeah, just keep in mind there are your damage types of runes, your support types of runes, and just runes that you can use in general, right? So I would say I would categorize this rune as your damage types of runes. This one is more of it's kind of like damagey because it's attack percent, but also it's like a support because it has accuracy on it. Yeah, this here is my rune overall rune efficiency analysis for top 300 of my runes. So this blue line is where I sit out in my guild. I'm not I'm not going to expose my other guildmates. I'm just going to expose myself. So that what this line means is this axis here represents the number of runes you have, and this here represents your efficiency. So the very best efficiency I've seen is probably like 127%, maybe 128. But if this graph goes up to 130, it might be 130 max. But I'm not too sure about that. But we'll have to see. So basically, what it is if I look at my top 300 runes, it says 103.78. That means I have 103. Or not 103. That means I have 300 runes that are over 103% efficiency. And if you go higher, over here I have 200 runes that are 106% plus. And then if you go over here, I have 100 runes that are over 111% efficiency plus, right? I would say like most of the top guilds do have, I would say that most of the top 5 guilds do have like 103%, but maybe at 200. I'm not too sure about. And for me, I would use anything over 100% efficiency. This is after grinds and gems, by the way. So, you know, if you haven't grinded and gemmed your rune, don't look at the overall efficiency of that rune yet. Just wait until you get those grinds in and those gems in as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. And I hope you guys get like a good idea of like what to keep and stuff. And getting triple speed and stuff is good and all. But if you don't get it, and if you get something really efficient, don't be afraid. Like if you get like HP defense, like high rolls onto it, don't be afraid to like max that out. Gem in speed if you can, or try to look at the rune at its end point rather than tossing it away, without even rolling it, because you never know when like a rune could be potentially good. Like this one, for example, it didn't even have speed on it, and it's still like a really good usable rune, like in most cases. If you guys like this video, if it helped you, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe as well, and I'll see you guys next time.